Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Pam with Crafty Mom 1919 coming to you today from my craft room with a mask tutorial. I know what you're thinking, oh my god, not another mask tutorial. I promise you this is going to be the most comfortable one that you can ever make for you and your family. Alright, and you don't need a pattern for this one, guys, so that's the amazing part. You can make it for you and your family and for friends. All right, before the video, on with my intro. Welcome back for my amazing intro. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you, everyone who supported my channel. If you're brand new to my channel, please consider go ahead and subscribe if you find this video helpful. All right, so to start our 3D mask, all we're going to need is 2 pieces of fabric, or you can use 3 pieces, or you could do 4 layers. It's up to you, but for this video, I'll keep it simple. I'm just going to use 2 pieces of fabric, and we want to put them right side together, line them up. Along with the fabric, you'll need a ruler, and what I'm using today is 1/4 inch elastic and 2 pieces of 12 inches long. I've also got some beads that I got from the Dollar Tree someday, long time ago, that I'm going to be using, and the nose piece or nose guard. I'm not sure what they call it, but I'm going to be adding a nose guard in today. You don't have to. If you choose to, you can always use like wires or, twist ties, anything that's bendable. So what we're doing is measuring 2 inches on each sides, and then we're going to go ahead and draw a line to connect them. All right, this is really simple. So it's 2 inches over from the end. Okay, and then same deal on the other side, 2 inches down. All right, and then just connect them. Very simple. And then once we connect them, you can use a regular pen for this, guys. I mean, your pen mark's not going to show. It's going to actually be our cut mark. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and go to the machine and stitch from 1/4 inch seam allowance from one end down the center and down the bottom. All right, here we are. I've already stitched it. I'm using white thread, so it's kind of difficult to see, but it's right below 1/4 inch below my line, and then 1/4 inch over and then to the side. Grab your scissor, and we're just going to go ahead and trim this piece off. A lot of people, tutorials that you might see, they cut before they stitch, which I think stitching and then cutting is easier, I think. And I want to make this tutorial as easy as possible, and you can definitely make this by hand with a hand needle and thread. It's just the same process. All right, I'm going to go in my iron real quick, just kind of set my seam flat, and then I'm going to flip, and make sure your corners are nice and pointy. And I'm going to go ahead going with the iron again. And if you don't like ironing, guys, you're not going to like sewing, because I'm telling you, I iron pretty much anything and everything once I'm making it. So here's my nose guard. It does have a sticky part. You're going to put obviously the sticky part down, and you're going to try to center it. Make sure it's in the center best as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I am a perfectionist like OCD. All right, so it has to be above the stitch line. Okay, it can't be on it or away from it too far, just right above it. All right, I'm going to flip it over again. I'm going to pinch it, keep pressing it in, make sure it's nice and even and it sticks down. All right, I'm going to ultimately taking it over to the sewing machine, and we're going to just stitch 1 stitch across to secure the nose piece from left to right. That's all we're going to do. I'll take it over to the machine and I'll bring it right back. Here we are. Stitch is complete. The nose piece is nice and secure. And we're going to go ahead and flip it over again, and we're going to do the same thing we did on the top end. We're going to do with the bottom end. All right, I'm not gonna bore you with this. You already know this part, you know, 2 down, 2 across, and connect and cut when you're done stitching. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna stitch from where the nose piece start all the way over, and we're gonna stop here. I'm gonna back tack because that's gonna be our opening, and then right here about 3 inches. We're gonna back tack there, start stitching again, come all the way down and stop. So here we are. I've already stitched it. We stitch from here all the way over, as you can see, 1/4 of an inch all the way through, and there's our opening. So we're going to go ahead and trim this real quick, and we're going to flip it first. Of course, got to bring in the iron, guys. All right, and we're going to go ahead and flip it, flip, 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 flip. Push your points out, your corners out best as you can. I mean, you can use a point turner, you can use a pencil. I'm just using my fingers right now. And then just pull these 2 ends together, and we're going to go ahead and go in with the iron so we can get this nice and flat, because ultimately we're going to do a top stitch all around. And while we're doing that, we're going to enclose our opening. And I'm going to go in with the iron here. So I've already stitched around. Actually, no, I haven't stitched around yet. I was just ironing it. So right now I'm going to go ahead and stitch around, just top stitch, tiny as you can. It's not 1/4 of an inch, it's less than 1/4 of an inch. So I went ahead and I top stitched it all around, except for the area obviously with the nose pieces, that's already top stitched. And I'm checking out my stitch, making sure everything is nice and, you know, together. All right, so for the next part, we're going to keep the nose piece area away from us, and then we're going to fold it down towards us. I'm eyeballing it right now because, you know, I'll measure it. So what we want is our mask center piece to measure 3 inches. As you see here, I'm going to go ahead and adjust it. And they should be pretty much okay. Now, if you're doing a lot of these, it's going to be easy. You'll be able to eyeball it. So 3 inches, we are good to go. Coming in with the iron so we can make our seam, because that's going to create our seam so we can stitch over it. Give it some steam here. Get a good iron, flip it over, press it again, and that is it for the fabric for now. So what we're going to do is work on our ear pieces, or whatever you call it, that goes around the ear. I'm sure there's a name for it. So with the ear pieces, what we're going to do, we're going to grab our beads, and I have a skewer stick. I mean, you can use whatever you have, whatever that can fit inside the eye of the beads. I'm using regular hair beads, so they're pretty, the eyes are pretty big. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and loop one end first. So I'm putting the bead on my finger, and I'm putting the elastic over the bead so I can get this, you know, push it through. And there you go. I pulled through the first one, and I'm going to hold them together, the ends. Now, this is not crucial. It's not the end of the world, guys, if it, you know, if it's not nice and straight, if it's twisted. But for me, of course, it'll bother the heck out of me. So I am holding the ends together. I'm going to go ahead and add the second bead. Now you can do one elastic at a time, but as you can see here, I am actually trying to jab both at the same time. You can. For me, this just works easier. Again, if you find it difficult, just do one at a time. As long as both ends are in the second bead, you're good to go. And that is it. So I pull it through here, and that's it. Now I like this because, you know, it's adjustable. We have to wear a mask a long amount of time. And what happens to me is I get migraines, and if there's any pressure on my ear area, it starts to bring on my migraine. So with this, I can adjust it. I can make it a little loose. I can tighten it. You know, it's just I think it's more comfortable, honestly. In here, I'm going to go in with my Wonder Clips. You don't have to use it. If you don't have it, you can use regular pins just to kind of hold the elastic down until you get it over to the sewing machine. I'm going to lap this over about 1 inch, and you'll see why I'm doing this. It doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little bit more, but about 1 inch should work. Okay, so we can, we'll be able to double stitch it and secure it in there, and you'll see what I mean when we're starting to stitch it. So we're going to clip this in place, and I'm going to take my time and do this so you can really get the idea. I'll do it in real time for you, one at a time. So ultimately, we want to get the elastic as close to our press line as possible. You can see I was scooting it down there. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. I try to, get something or create something that is comfortable for long-term use, since we can't ever take it off. Now, as you can see here, I got the wrong end in the side. So after I clipped it, I realized, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. Out you go. So I just take that out and just add the other side in there, because that's what's supposed to be going there. Again, scoot it all the way up to this iron mat. Screw it all the way up to the iron creased. And this is our final one here. Now, once we do this, I'm going to take you over to the sewing machine so you can actually see the process of connecting these. So ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch all the way around the mask, as small a seam as you possibly can. Okay, and here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start at the end so I can back tack my elastic here. So I'm going all the way to the end where my original stitch is, and I'm actually going to go over it on the sides. Go over that stitch that was already there, so I don't have like a lot of stitches showing, for aesthetic purposes, of course. And then I'm going to go ahead and go my really, really small seam down the sides and top and bottom. Don't forget to back tack where your earpiece is, and that is it. So we have one final step, and this is a tricky step. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do it in real time for you so you can actually learn how to do it if you don't already know how, because this is a tricky part. This is what creates the 3D look of the mask, this part that I'm about to do right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm grabbing the top part where the nose guard is. I'm starting there, and I am flipping it back up so it lines up with the edge of the mask. And you'll see in a second why how I'm doing this. I mean, you can, after making a few, you can figure out an easier way to do it. I think this is the easiest for me. At first it takes a little bit of adjusting, a little bit of, aligning, but ultimately it's the same deal. Just as long as it's lined up against the side of the mask, it's even. So I'm using this ruler just to kind of as like a guide to make sure it's lined up nice and even or straight. And as you can see here, I'm going to continue to measure, use this ruler. I think this ruler is about 1 inch wide. It might be, I'm not sure. It just looks like 1 inch. All right, and I'm double checking it as I go. So that one's pretty lined up, nice and straight. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side so you guys can get some practice. Because if you don't get this part right, guys, it's not a 3D mask. It's not gonna create that 3D version of, this is what we're doing to pull the actual part that touches our mouth when we talk. This creates that little, space. So you're able to talk freely, and it's not in your mouth, and doesn't feel like you're suffocating. I feel like this is one of the best. I think this is one of the best masks I've made and I've wore. So I've decided to make a bunch for my my family, being that we're gonna have to wear it all through this year and next year. So why not? And you could definitely, like I mentioned earlier, definitely add extra layers to this, because now it's recommended that we wear 2-layer masks. So instead of wearing two masks, we can just add another 2 layers to this, and you'll just have 1 mask, and just it'll be more comfortable. So this is a great idea, and I wanted to share it with you. So as you can see, I'm still adjusting the other side. I think I'm a little bit off here, but I'll go ahead and do the adjustment. So if you do this with something straight, it doesn't have to be a small ruler. It could be anything that's straight, so you can match it up. All right, excuse my OCD / perfectionist here, because you know, for me it has to be perfect, but it doesn't, honestly, it doesn't have to be. You know, when I make things, I like to make it the best as I can, you know, because I'm creating it, I am stitching it, I am constructing it from scratch, and I want to make sure that it is something that, you know, I'll do the best job I possibly can, and that's just me. And I tell that story to anybody, they call me a perfectionist, but it's all good. You know, if I make it, I want to make it, you know, say, hey, I did this, and this is the best that I could have done, and you know, and I'm comfortable with it, so I'm able to wear it, and I can, you know, when I give it to somebody else, I don't have to worry about, you know, not them thinking that, you know, wow, this wasn't constructed right, or find flaws in it, which, you know, we don't want that, especially when we're creating it. This is our own creation, we're making this by hand. So anyway, what I'm doing right now, I'm just running a straight stitch, and we're catching the elastic, the end of the elastic, the inch that we lapped over, the stitch that we just did. We double tacked it, so elastic's not going anywhere. And that's it, we're done. You have your own 3D mask. And another thing too, if you're wearing glasses, this does not fog your glasses up at all, because, you know, especially if you put a nose piece in there, it kind of just meshes to your nose, and it's really, really comfortable. I'm just trimming off my threads, and it's done. I hope you guys make this for you and your family. Have fun doing it. Make a lot, share, you know, to whoever you want to give it to. And, you know, I want to thank you guys again for your support and for tuning into this video. And if you do make this, definitely tag me on it. And there's your adjustable earpiece. I will see you in my next video, guys. Bye-bye.